Hey guys, welcome back to the league, Wannabe Studs. It's time for our week 3 recap, and we had a great week this week. Turns out everyone's within a game of each other at 2-1 or 1-2, so we didn't have anyone pull away this week, and we didn't have anyone fall behind. So it looks like the league's right on track for a great season.
I didn't know if I'd win this week, but I did. And so did Steve.
No, I lost this week.
Steve did not win.
He's wrong. I thought I was going to win going into it, but, things happen, players go off, and I get disappointed. All right. Now, first things first, we got some huge upsets this week, and one of those was against me. And Kyle's going to tell you about it right now.
So, this is Steve versus Parziali. Steve, you recently went through a name change. You want to tell everybody what it is?
Yes, guys. So, as of right now, my name is now All Barkley No Bite because I dropped Dante Moncrief. We'll get to that in the next video.
So, Steve, like you said, I didn't even look at it originally, but you did lose. So, the score was 127 to 141 in favor of Parziali. So now you're dropping to 1-2, and he's going to 2-1. You got really disappointed this week by Amari Cooper. But Saquon played pretty well. He had a lot of receiving yards, and the half PPR really helped you there. So he played well, but it wasn't enough. On his side, he had Calvin Ridley in the starting lineup. With 3 touchdowns last week. Like, you can't predict that, and somehow he had him in his lineup, and he just steamrolled you. On the bad side, he had Chris Thompson go off for very little points. This is a matchup that everybody thought that Chris Thompson would really get a lot of work in because they thought they'd be down versus the Packers, but they end up having the lead for most of it. So Adrian Peterson got a lot of that timeshare. So he didn't get many points, but it was a double upset. Me and Steve both predicted that he'd win, and he didn't. So we both predicted it wrong. So there's one wrong guess for us this week.
All right, guys. Next one we got is My Ball Zach Ertz versus Wannabe Winners. Now, if you guys remember last week, this is one that we didn't pick the same team. I picked My Ball Zach Ertz, Kyle picked Wannabe Winners, and it turns out Kyle was right. Wannabe Winners and Trevor won, and not just won, dominated this game. Not because they put up a ton of points, but because My Ball Zach Ertz only put up 68. Guys, we talked about it last week. If you don't see scores above 100, you know it's going to be a really tough week. But congrats to Trevor on getting the win. That puts him at 2-1, up to 4th place. And Wannabe and My Ball Zach Ertz, even though they took the loss, are dropping to 2-1. They're still in 6th place, which is pretty good. Now, the big thing for My Ball Zach Ertz, Brady did not perform well last week. He didn't have a great performance, put up single-digit points, and that was very disappointing. The other big thing was he started Philip Lindsay as one of his 2 running backs. He didn't have a performance for Denver at all last week. He had barely anything out there, and that really hurt.
He got in a fist fight, and he got ejected halfway through the game.
So, even though he got ejected halfway through, his production for halfway wasn't even where it should have been, where he needs to start, so a little disappointing. And the one thing that I can say is, he can't even be mad at himself because his bench didn't have any more improvement. His bench put up no more than 6 points for any player, so it's not like making a different decision would have helped. So, unfortunately, just a bad week all around. Hopefully it'll change. But Trevor had some good players go off with Carlos Hyde, and Chicago's defense actually got him double-digit points this week, which is a huge thing going forward. It looks like Khalil Mack is really finding his place in that defense.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like that he's going to get a lot of points going forward. So, this is the start of it. He's got one more win than me right now, and I got to make it up at some point.
We'll see. Next up, we had Ramsey's All-Suck Team versus Deflatriots. We picked that Deflatriots would lose, but it turns out they actually won. It was 112 to 138. Deflatriots really exploded this week, which was something we didn't really expect to happen. That brings Ramsey's All-Suck Team to 2-1 in 3rd place, still pretty good. And the Deflatriots to 1-2 in 8th place. So Ramsey's All-Suck Team is still ranked higher than them, but they kind of destroyed them this week, so that could be interesting going into when it gets to playoff time. For Ramsey's All-Star team, he started Wentz, which we said might be, risky, high risk, high reward, but it did not pay off for him. That offense just did not click and did not seem to know what it was doing, and so they kind of got manhandled. It wasn't a pretty game. Then Tyreek did not perform. We saw that week 1 where he exploded for 3 touchdowns and he was amazing, but this week was not that. So he's kind of a boomer bust kind of player, so we might be hearing this same conversation happen multiple times. And the positive, McCaffrey really went off. He did not have many receptions, which is not like McCaffrey, but he had so many yards. He had led the league, I'm pretty sure, in rushing for this week. He just had so many yards, which created a lot of points. For the Deflatriots, he had Robert Woods go off with 2 touchdowns. Jarvis Landry, who's now, an easy wide receiver 1 week to week, exploded. Big Ben did really well, one of the top quarterbacks for the week, and he's actually, you might think Patrick Mahomes has the most fantasy points for the first 3 weeks, but it's actually Big Ben, which is surprising. And then Will Fuller exploded. He was a riskier play because, he's not 100% really. He just came off an injury, and nobody knew if he was going to be quite clicking with Deshaun as much as he has been, but it seems like him and Deshaun have a really good connection, so it was a really good pick. Like I said earlier, me and Steve both picked that the Deflatriots would lose, and they ended up winning, so that's another one we got wrong. You guys are just beating us, apparently.
Alright, guys. Next matchup we got is this guy, Carry On My Wayward Son versus Dak Street's Back. Again, another upset. We thought Kyle was going to take this one, but he ended up losing 138 to 114. Another big upset. Alright, that drops him to 1-2, and he's actually in 9th right now, so needed a little work to get done to get back up there. And Dak Street's Back, also at 1-2, but in 7th place. A big score. Hopefully that keeps going for him. Now, the big keys here was Chris Hogan again didn't perform for the Patriots. He's their number 1 receiver still, but he's still not getting the targets and the yards that he needs. And with Josh Gordon, that might coming back to the Patriots now off that injury and that trade, that might stay the same, honestly.
What I'm hoping is that Josh Gordon spreads the field and makes, another cornerback have to shadow him more than like a double team on Chris Hogan. I mean, high hope.
Alright, Kyle, we'll talk about that more in the predictor for next week. The other big key, he picked up Dan Bailey last week, which, great pickup. Unfortunately, Minnesota didn't score any touchdowns, so no extra points. And honestly, that just sucks. You got 1 touchdown where they went for 2, couldn't kick the extra point because they were down. It's a tough play, but you didn't have. That was the best play you could have had. No hard feelings, right?
Yeah, I have a little bit of hard feelings.
But I don't know how much of a difference those 2 guys would have even made, because Dak Street's Back had Drew Brees go off, and not only that, he had Matt Ryan on his bench go off too. So no matter who he played, he probably would have killed you. With that being said, Will Lutz as his kicker, huge amount of points there too with all those field goals and extra points in that high-scoring matchup. And one of the ones we said earlier in the season, Sterling Shepard for the Giants finally broke out and had a good game.
Yeah.
A lot of points for that Giants offense, and you know what? Hopefully that continues going forward.
All right, so another matchup we had was Patrick Mahomes Show versus Just Girly Things. We both predicted that Just Girly Things would win this matchup, but Patrick Mahomes Show ended up taking it with a score of 142, which is huge, for 121. What's really interesting is Patrick Mahomes Show is now 2nd, while Just Girly Things is 1st. So these are the top 2 teams that face each other, and the team that's actually lower ranked is the one that won. They both are now 2-1 going into week 4. And this is really interesting because this may be a matchup we could see in the playoffs, so keep an eye on this one for future. One person that obviously excelled is Patrick Mahomes, and then Kamara for Patrick Mahomes Show. For Just Girly Things, I mean, you always have to talk about Girly. He did fantastic in this matchup. Mike Evans did really good. Fitzpatrick led a comeback that was, a lot on the back of Mike Evans that was just giving him a ton of points. The Minnesota defense, interesting enough, he expected them to give a ton of points for him, but as he said before, the game was not what we expected, and the Bills ran through them, didn't get many points. And then another person that has been repeatedly not doing so well is Larry Fitzgerald. It seems like age might have caught up to him, plus a little bit of injury. He's just not lived up to the name of being, that amazing player, and so that led to a loss. So another upset for me and Steve, and seems really interesting going forward with these two teams.
Alright guys, so the last matchup we got is Cooking with Class versus Tyler's team. This one was the closest matchup we've seen so far this year, with Cooking with Class squeaking out a win, 93.4. I know we don't add the decimals a lot of times here, but I have to do it. 93.4 to 92.98, less than half point difference. And with a half-point PPR system in this league, that is huge. That is the difference between a guy going for one catch and nothing. That's huge, Kyle.
That's pretty big. I'd be very mad if I lost that matchup.
Okay, so guys, both of these teams are now 1-2. Cooking with Class picking up a huge win to keep them in it, and Tyler's team dropping a close one. Unfortunately for them, Cooking with Class 11th, Tyler's team 12th, still at the bottom of the rankings just because they haven't scored a lot this year. Hopefully that changes for them and they start picking it up as long as they keep playing like this. Cooking with Class, some great players went off. Odell, Emmanuel Sanders, and Cooper Kupp. Your top three receivers all had big games for you this weekend, and it was great. The one disappointing thing was you probably could have scored more if you had put AP in. He was on your bench for 24 points, and it kind of hurts in the grand scheme of things. But a win's a win. And the thing that really hurt Tyler's team is not having Leonard Fournette this week. Being out injured really took a big toll on him. So if he had him, I think it would have swung the other way. But, I mean, that's all we got. And so I had Tyler's team just squeaking this one out. Fortunately, I got another loss. And Kyle had Cooking with Class. So looks like Kyle's got 2 up on me now. I gotta work back at it somehow.
It's soon to be more. We'll keep it going, boys and girls.
Just too bad Fournette wasn't in. I would have got that one. Alright guys, well that covers week 3 recap, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys saw any players go off that we didn't mention, make sure to comment below. We'll see you guys next time on Wannabe Studs.
Bye guys, have a good one.